Hey, everyone. So excited to have you here today because we are talking about traveling while Black and lesbian with Coach Connie. Hi,
Yeah.
hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Excellent. I'm coming to you live and direct from Fiji.
I'm
Dun, dun,
jealous.
dun, dun, dun,
And I'm coming to you live in hot Texas.
Texas. All right, you're in Austin, Texas.
I'm in Austin, Texas. We actually
Okay.
had a hurricane
Ooh,
warning this weekend, but it didn't happen. But
okay.
yeah, it's that hot that they thought we were going to get one, but we didn't.
Okay. But you're not originally from Austin.
No, I'm from South Africa.
Okay. Do you mind sharing where in South Africa you're from?
I'm from South Africa in a small town called Kala, and
Okay.
it's in the Eastern Cape. It's one of those like small villages that turn into a town with small villages
Okay.
around it. Yeah, a lot of South Africans don't even know where it is. It's a small
Okay.
town. But I went to university in Cape Town. People would know Cape Town. My family, my dad's side of the family, they live in Johannesburg.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but when I go home, I go to my grandmother's house, which is in Kala.
Okay. Me and my business partner and the group we're in brought almost 100 women to Cape Town this February. And before the trip started, my mom and I took a drive through the garden route in
Oh,
that's Western Cape, right?
yeah,
It was so beautiful.
it's
So
gorgeous.
beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
gorgeous. No, I was home for about a month and a half, and every time I'm home, I'm just like, damn it, this country is so pretty. Like
So
Cape
pretty.
Town to the day is like my favorite city in the world. And I thought,
Oh,
because when I was at home this time, I then had a trip to London for 2 weeks, and I was like, maybe it's gonna change. I'm gonna experience London, and I'll be like, no. I was like, it's still Cape Town. Above
yeah.
all the cities I've ever been to, Cape Town wins.
Oh,
It has
I think Cape
everything.
Town. Yeah, Cape Town is gorgeous, but it's Johannesburg for me. Like hands down. I know. I
Okay.
know.
You
I know.
probably like New York.
I don't, but I live in Mexico City, which is like a mega New York.
That makes sense. That makes
It's
sense. That
yeah,
makes sense why you'd like Johannesburg, because
yeah.
when I'm in Joburg, I'm just like, when can I get out of here? Like I'm just so activated. I love Cape Town, but
And I'm like city. Yeah.
really, but Cape Town is a city. It's just a really pretty city.
Hit, Cape Town has more historical baggage that I can see than Johannesburg has. And you know what I mean.
I hear what you're saying. The racism.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was.
that. That.
Okay, I was talking about how pretty it is. Now,
Yeah.
when it comes to like the racism of Cape Town, the one thing I love about Joburg is everyone is there. Like, and
Yeah.
everyone hangs out with everyone. You have
Mhm.
white people speaking Xhosa and Zulu and Setswana, white
Really? Okay.
people who can dance in Joburg. You're not gonna really get that a lot in Cape Town for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But today we're here not to talk about Cape Town or Joburg.
Yes.
Today we're going to talk about your experience traveling the world as an out and about lesbian.
Yay.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
the out and about lesbian.
Out and about. Listen, we're here for the out and about part. Don't forget.
Just hopping around
Just
the
hopping around, having
world
a
and
time.
you're lesbian. Okay, yeah, let's talk about
Okay,
it.
but first, I kind of want to back up a second and talk about you as a lesbian in South Africa. Were you out when you were in South Africa?
No. So
Did
one of the things I talk about in the book is I grew up very, very, very religious.
okay.
Um, and I had my first lesbian experience in university. Now, mind you, I knew I was gay at 15. I was like, I
Okay.
am very gay and I'm going to hell. And then
Oh.
I know I grew up like born again Christian, so there's a lot of like shame. Um, and so I get to university and I had my first like same-sex experience with someone in the church, so that also didn't help. So I was very closeted. When I left South Africa, I sort of came out to my friends as bisexual. only because I had a boyfriend at the time. Well, devils. Had a boyfriend at the time. And I was like, well, I think I'm bisexual. But when I taught English in South Korea for 2 years, and I came out when I was in South Korea.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Does your family at home, I mean, she said the book, we didn't talk about the book. You have a book that's titled Traveling While Black and Lesbian.
Very self-explanatory of a book.
Very self-explanatory.
No guessing
Your
what's
name
going
is
on in
on the
there.
book, right? Like it's very hard to hide it. So I'm guessing your family does know now.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was that experience of coming out to them?
Coming out to my family.
Yeah.
It was hard. My mom passed when I was 17, 18, so I didn't get to come out to her. When I finally came out, I was so in love. It's like your first big love. I was so in love, and I was like, I don't. And my family knew her, and they kept being like, "Oh, you and Julie are so like such good friends." And I'm like,
Yep.
Julie and I live in a studio apartment with one bed.
Oh,
How do you think this friendship works? And
yes.
so I finally came out to my aunt. I was like, Julie's not my friend. Julie's my partner, and we've been together for 3 years at the time. And so, I was told I was going to go to hell. We didn't talk for like a week, my aunt and I. And when she finally spoke to me again, she said, "Are you happy?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm very happy." To which she then said, "I guess that's all that matters as long as you're happy." And then
Okay.
she said, don't tell your grandmother, it's going to kill her. Fast forward to a few years later, Julie and I break up. It's all in the book. Don't date me because I am putting that shit in a book.
You're like making notes.
I'm like, it's going in the book.
And
And
on January 4th, she had the nerve to say,
I was like, this is how we broke up. She acted shady. And so fast forward to a few years after that breakup, now I'm with a new person, and this person is younger, and she's white. Julie was my age. Julie was black, and it was sort of like easier to say to my grandmother, "This is my friend." And when Julie and I met, she had actually, which also all my partners have been American. I don't know why. I feel like it's time to go home and date some South African women. But so when she was in South Africa and she left, she had come with a church group, like church ministry, campus ministry. And her and I kept in touch. And so my grandmother always knew about this Julie person that I spoke to at weird hours at night when I was home visiting. So it was easy to talk about her and to bring her to my family as a friend. Whereas with my recent ex-partner, it was like, she's younger, she's white. How am I going to explain to my grandmother that this is my friend? And at the time, my grandmother was just sort of like, you need to get married now, and all this stuff. And so I finally said to her, I do want to get married, but I'm going to marry a man. I mean, I'm going to marry a woman and not a man. To which she said, well, what about God? And I said, well, God will just have to decide what he wants to do with that. And then she said, what about family? And then I said, I guess my family also has to decide if they're going to love me less because I love a woman, right? And yeah, and that was the conversation. And I took my ex home to my grandmother's house in the village. And my grandmother is just like, she's those women that will just love everyone that's in front of her. Like she just loved her. She thought she was so beautiful. She tried to talk to her and speak to her in English, and it was beautiful. But she also had so much fear for us. Like she literally was like, they kill people like you here. It was the first time where she acknowledged who we were to each other, and it was in reference to the homophobic attacks that happened to lesbians in South Africa. We're still dealing with correctional rape. Lesbian couples are raped and killed like at a ridiculous amount. It's very dangerous. And so knowing that we were a couple, my grandmother was very fearful for us.
Okay. But she loves you. right?
She does, yeah.
And that's
She's my girl.
beautiful.
Yeah.
One of the things when we talk about, I talk to people all the time about traveling abroad, and one of the things that I can't really speak to a lot, I can't speak to at all, is the safety of Black queer women in different countries. And what you just said about South Africa is something that we hear kind of generally, like it's not safe to be gay in Africa, right? Like in kind of a larger sense.
The whole
But
country of Africa.
the whole continent, it's not safe to be gay in Africa. I'd love if we could talk a little bit more about what that's like traveling as a queer woman in Africa and traveling maybe with a partner. And are there places where you have felt safer within the continent than others?
So I can't really speak to that experience specifically because sadly I haven't really traveled Africa. I've traveled everywhere else. My next trip is going to be Zanzibar for my 40th birthday in January.
Oh, yay.
I can speak to being queer in South Africa. Like the thing with us is we have this very progressive constitution. Like we legalized same-sex marriage in 2003. You know,
Wow.
like and we were having these conversations for like a long time, but where we failed was to not then bring in the education aspect of it. So although we have this pretty constitution, we still experience a lot of violence. I don't feel safe being gay at home. When I'm with a partner at home, I don't hold hands. And if I do hold hands, it's from this the energy doesn't feel good because I'm doing it out of like, I'm going to hold her hand because I get to.
Okay.
So it's from this like almost rebellious energy that I'm holding this person's hand versus like, I love my girl, so I'm going to hold her hand.
Right.
But also being careful, like you're constantly so hyper activated. You're just like waiting or watching or making sure that you're at the right place. It's a safe area. You can do it. You know, when I was in Germany, I was in Germany last week, and I was at a African book festival, Queer Edition. So what I can speak to is the experiences of those queer authors who live and grew up in Nigeria, right? Where you have to hide. You can't just be telling everyone that you're gay. Correctional rape is legal. They've just passed a law there that you be sentenced to 14 years in prison if they find out that you're gay. Like all these things in 2024 are happening in Africa. And so we then have South Africa being this like cute pretense of a hub for queer Africans, but it's not.
Not.
Because when you get there, you still don't feel safe.
Okay. That's really helpful. Zolani, who was a guest earlier this month on the channel, asked from Black Flourishing and Free, asked, do you feel the risk for lesbian foreigners in South Africa is the same as it is for lesbian South Africans there?
I actually that is such a good question, and my answer is no, because I feel like with foreigners they get treated differently. One, the places where you're going to choose to live in when you visit South Africa, like you're not going to live in the locations, we call them the hood. I don't know what's politically correct these days, but I'm going to go with it. And so no, and when I'm asked about countries that I've traveled in Thailand, right? I've lived in Thailand, and I felt safe in Thailand to be gay and to be out and proud. But when I spoke to local queer folks, like my friend that I was staying with, he didn't feel safe. So and it was very interesting because me, the foreigner who's just working there, I was having a great time. But for them, it was a different story. So I love that question, and my answer is I feel like it's not the same. I feel like foreigners feel safer. Actually, I've seen like people being like, I'm just gonna go to South Africa and get married, and they put that shit on the internet, you know, and they're at the beach in Cape Town getting married, having a great time. Not to say that South Africans can't do that, but depending on where you live, it can be very dangerous.
Okay. Is the danger the same for men as it is for women?
I think in South Africa, the danger there's actually a professor who who was at the book festival, and she's a white lesbian who lives in South Africa and wrote a book about this, where the danger is more towards lesbians because South Africa already has a high rate of rape in general. So then when you take that into context, the people who experience the type of violence that happens to queer communities are mostly lesbians. Although I did hear that there's someone on Grindr who they called the gay syndicate or something like that. They literally, this group of men are there luring gay men, and then you match with them, they take you somewhere and they brutalize you and they kill you. So that's not to say it doesn't happen, but it is the rate at which it happens seems to be higher towards lesbians.
For women. Okay. That's terrible.
It's
Terrible.
awful.
Would you move back to South Africa knowing what you know now?
No, I really
Never?
like being an out and proud gay. And now, you know, and I hung out with some friends who are out and proud. I feel living outside of South Africa has really made me value safety, right? Like my reverse culture shock when I'm home is that I have to be careful all the time. I can't just like walk outside. I can't just go for a run. Even in my, like, you know, my grandmother lives in a village. I can't just run without my cousins running with me because someone might stop me and someone might brutalize me. And it's happened, right? So they'll be like, just stay home. Like, don't come home after dark. And I'm like, yo, I come home after dark all the time. And so I've kind of valued that sense of safety for so long now. I do want to buy a house. I do want to go home as much as I can, but I don't see myself living there.
Okay. So the danger to you isn't just when you're with your partner. The danger exists if they have identified you as a lesbian. You could be at danger at any time in South
Listen,
Africa.
if they identified you as a woman, right?
Well, yes. Woo. Okay. Yeah. And so what you said before about foreigners versus people who are local are it's very telling, because I didn't feel unsafe anywhere in South Africa, and the people as a foreigner, and the women I was with didn't feel unsafe as far as I know either. And so it really is interesting to hear that perspective, that like you can be in the same country and you can present in very, very similar ways and still have a very different experience.
100%. And like for me, I mostly I've been trying to get away from this, but I mostly present mask, right?
Okay.
And so when men are confronted with masculine energy, there's this threat to their own masculinity. Like I've had women, like I've had men in South Africa being like, "Don't steal our girlfriends," or like just being really upset by how I move in the world. So like something so small, you know, it matters there.
Okay. Okay. Wow. This is I'm really glad we're having this conversation.
It's not the conversation you prepared yourself for.
Listen, I'm always prepared for everything. I will tell you that. But I feel like we got deep real fast. We are almost 15 minutes. We're 15 minutes into it, and we're still it's like,
I do have to
okay.
say it's the downfall of my job. So I work as a life coach, and my job doesn't give space for ease of conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's dive in real quick.
Yeah. You gotta go right in. Okay. Let's talk about your travels outside of South Africa. So can you name some places you've been? I'm not gonna ask everywhere because I know we always forget, but like just give me some of the places you've been.
Okay. I'm gonna name where I've lived.
Okay.
Okay. 3 years in the Philippines, 2 years in South Korea, 1 year in Costa Rica, 4 years now in the States, 1 year in Malaysia, collectively 1 year in Singapore, kind of in and out. And then traveled to Hong Kong. I did Central America, Panama, Guatemala. I was just in Germany, traveled London. There's more, but I don't want to be like, this is where I've been. It's been quite a few places.
Okay.
I just got back from Germany.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you of those places? Which place did you vibe with the best?
Oh, that's such a good one. Which place do I vibe with the best? I liked Mexico City. I spent 2 days in Mexico City, and I felt like I'm an extrovert, and so when I was there, my energy was like I was like yes, I was like the Hulk. I had so much energy, so I liked it. Um,
Everybody does. And if they don't, they're wrong. Okay. So
they're wrong.
they're
I
wrong.
vibed. I vibed also. I did not vibe with Australia. I lived in Australia for a year. I forgot to mention it. That's how much I didn't
Okay.
vibe with that country. Um, I don't know. I feel like I vibe with all the places that I've been to. I will say that South Korea holds this like special corner of my
Mm-hmm.
heart in the fact that like that's where I came out, that's where I saw, you know, when you grow up in the church and they talk about queerness, you feel so limited, right? There's like, you can't be in love, you can't have kids, you can't have
Mm-hmm.
friends. There's this, all these blocks. But being in South Korea, I had gay friends, I was in love, you know, and I was traveling. My life felt very limitless. And so because of that, I would say I don't want to say I vibe with it, but it holds such a beautiful space in my heart because I got to be authentic and I got to own myself and own my story, and I put away I put away the dresses and the purses and the earrings, and I was like wearing ties and suspenders, you know. So
Okay.
yeah, I came to myself when I was there.
Okay. What year were the ties and suspenders? Because I feel like I'm catching a vision of this right now.
Oh, okay, so 2010, 2010, 2011 were like long locks. Think like your
Uh-huh.
typical. I want you to think about like your typical TikTok lesbians.
Okay.
Have you like bumped into lesbian
I,
TikTok with the hand rubs and the little?
so I I'm not on TikTok, but I'm in the
Okay,
world enough to know
okay. You know,
to know exactly what we're
you've
talking
seen
about.
it,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yes.
so it's like the long locks, it's the bow ties. We're putting on a little bit of makeup just for
A little,
control,
but
just a
not.
little, not
Yes.
too much, like just some
No.
eyeliner.
Yes. Okay.
We're kind of saggy, but not in a bad way. We're in our sexy, we're in our
Yes.
sexy, and we're
Okay.
also newly gay, so we're trying to get straight women. I don't know if any of your guests have spoken to you about
We
this.
haven't, but
Uh,
I feel like we should. Some of my guests this month are here in the comments right now. Actually, 3 of the 4, a bunch of them are here right now. So yes,
yeah.
let's talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
Actually, before we get there, I do want to ask you, of all the places you've been, what would you say like is the number one, hey, Black queer women, you need to get to this place? Well, did any of those places give that energy?
Thailand, man. Thailand, and it's like Thailand, Bangkok, the islands, the mountains. It it's honestly where I experienced, and not that I didn't experience any, because there's a story that's coming in my head right now as I'm about to say this, but I experienced way less micro and macro, like
Okay.
microaggressions when I was in Thailand. I was just like existing for the most part. Stuff did happen, but if I were to compare it to everywhere else, like as much as I love Korea, I was always telling people not to touch me, you know, like don't touch my hair, like back off. I'm naked at this Jimjilbang, you know, like the swimming pools, like the sauna rooms, like the Korea. So all of that shit happened, but I felt like Thailand was very just Thai people were not so they were not so like, oh my God, a black person. They're like, oh, a black person. And I think because
Okay.
Thailand is such like everybody's there. Everyone is in Thailand. So I didn't feel that type. My sister still lives there actually, but I didn't feel what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not looking for objectified, but I didn't feel um, I'm blanking. What's the word I'm looking for? When you feel like you're an anomaly and people are just like trying to reach for you.
Were you like, are you thinking of like being othered in that way? Like you weren't?
Othered but exoticized. Do you
Ooh,
know what I
okay.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I did, the way I felt that in a lot of countries that I traveled to. And obviously I would say Belize. Yo, Belize is fire. Like Belize,
Belize?
have you been?
I have. I
I
have.
had such a good time there. Yeah.
Were you in the islands or on the mainland?
I did Belize City. It was a little scary.
Okay.
Kind of reminded me of Johannesburg a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I was on the islands.
Okay. Yeah. When we were in Belize, when we landed in Belize and we were going out to the islands, they were like, don't turn left, don't pass go, do not collect 200, just take your, like, go straight to the island. They were like, get out of here, go straight, get on the ferry. I was like, oh,
Right.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what I missed in Belize City, but you liked it?
I mean, I was there for like 2 hours,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, it's like rough around the edges.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was
All
like
right.
in and out. Yeah.
Okay. So Thailand, you think Black queer woman
Mhm.
looking for a good place to travel to, maybe to live, you would say Thailand, the islands, Bangkok.
There's also like a huge queer Black community in Thailand.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I'm gonna tell y'all, before we got on live, she said she was thinking about going back to Bangkok. So she might
Don't
just be
tell
tricking
people
y'all.
my business.
She might just be tricking y'all to get you to come over there with her. I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, a girl is single out here. Let's go.
All right. So let's talk about your single life, dating.
Mhm.
What was it like, Black, queer, in other countries, because you weren't out and dating in South Africa,
Mhm.
um, or anywhere in Africa. So other places. What has dating been like around the world?
Oh, it's dating is easy for me. I just sit and the girl. I'm kidding. It was.
I was like, no, girl, absolutely not. We are not doing this right now. Okay, so you weren't such a magnet for the ladies.
I just do this, and then they just
Just,
are like,
and they
oh,
come, and they come.
and then they just
If you
come.
weren't such a magnet for the ladies,
Yeah. I, when
let's talk about that.
so when I came out in Korea, I was single, and
Hmm.
it was interesting because I don't know why I did this to myself, but I was like, oh, I could just. Also, I was much younger. I was like 25, inflated ego. I'm almost 40 now, so if you're there thinking I'm cute, I am not that person anymore. But I would do this thing where I would try to date straight women. It was
Hmm.
almost this weird like chase um, to date straight women. Now it did come around. It bit me in the ass, so I don't do that anymore. Um, but dating was fun because South Korea had this like homo hill, which was
Homo,
like homo hill.
Homo Hill. Okay.
It was all the gay bars on the street. And so we
Okay.
just go to Homo Hill and dance and connect with people. I've also never been big on apps. I like
Okay.
old school connection. Like I'm on the
Mhm.
apps now and it's driving me insane. I fucking hate it so much. Can I curse here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We curse here.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay, good. And I just I'm not having a good time. So I'm like I need to go out and meet people. So I enjoyed dating in that way. Even when I was in Thailand dating, it was just fun to go out and meet gay women and talk to them and connect with them. So and
Okay.
I think also I'm someone that enjoys being partnered, so it's not hard for me to date. I just I enjoy. I'm actually I am oh, I'm being very vulnerable, but I'm practicing polyamory right now,
Oh,
and
okay.
I know,
Is
I
your
know.
is your polyamory, does it involve only women?
Yes,
Okay. All right.
I don't, I don't date men.
Okay.
I play with them. I don't date them. Um,
When you say you play with them, the people have more questions. Come on.
well, we'll wait for the people to ask their questions.
So I got to ask. Okay, what when you say play, what do you? I am the people here that have more questions.
Oh, you're
So
the
when you
people.
say, girl, I'm nosy.
No, like I'm not opposed to threesomes with men. I'm just not romantically attracted to them, but I play with them in terms of like safe, pleasurable spaces.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Um, what I know, like it's been like you've been like giving me information through through like the fire hose. The fire hose. Listen, they hit the comments with what does play mean? So I'm glad we covered that.
Yes.
Okay, so you're in Thailand,
Hmm.
you decide any woman could be my woman, right? Like you're going after her.
In South Korea, I'm like,
Oh,
I can,
South Korea was where you were. Yes.
and Costa Rica. I'm just like,
Okay.
have you
You're
heard
like,
the saying? Have you heard the saying? It goes, when someone says they're straight, then you say, so is spaghetti until it's wet.
oh my God. Yo, get her. Get her. Okay, so D apparently okay. So D was a guest of a channel a while ago. So was Tracy, and they are all they understand. I had not heard that. I had not heard that. Okay. Whew, okay. All
Yes.
right. I'm a. It's rare, but I have to gather myself. But I'm give me a minute to gather myself.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
drink some water.
a
You said
little
come
bit
have
of
a.
water.
You said we're having a conversation, and I was
You
like,
said
I'm
I
ready.
did.
Let's have
I
one.
did, and we are having. Mm, mm. Okay, so spaghetti. All right, so you were in South Korea flirting with straight women that I identified as straight. And you said that didn't go well. There was a point where it stopped going well for you.
My first, like, when you have that big love, I don't know, like
Mhm.
that big one that you
Uh-huh.
just like center your entire existence around this person. So she used to say that she was gay for Kanye, that
Uh-huh.
she wasn't really gay. She was gay for Kanye, and we were together for 8 years. And how that was not fun anymore is, I mean, all this stuff is in the book. So she ended up like cheating on me with a man, and because we will always be who we are. Like we'll always, there's never going to be a moment where I'm not gay. Like I could marry a man here, I will always be attracted to women.
Hmm.
And so for her, her true nature came, but it came in a way that was very harmful to me. And that's what I mean when I'm like, that bit me in the ass. She just moved in ways that were very unkind. And so now I refuse to date anyone who doesn't. Not even that I'm not. A lot of lesbians get called out for biphobia, and
Hmm.
how I explain that biphobia for some of us is we've experienced a lot of pain dating bisexual women, and that's not to say that there are no bisexual women who end up in long-term loving relationships with other women. But for a lot of us, that dating bisexual women or women who did not identify as lesbian, it brought a lot of harm and a lot of hurt. Um, So I do date pansexual women now. I've kind of healed through that wound. I do date bisexual women, but I don't want to date anyone who's questioning. I don't want to be someone's experiment. I don't want to be someone's like, I mean, maybe I can be someone's experiment, but I don't want to date someone who's like, I'm not really queer. I'm
Okay.
just queer for you.
Okay. So you could play with someone who's experimenting,
Yeah, I could show them a
but
good
not
time.
like serious
But
dating. Okay.
I don't want to be in a serious relationship with them.
Okay. Look at this. I think there's growth. I think I'm hearing
No, we've been growing. We've
some
had to
maturity.
grow. I mean,
Yes.
it's been a journey, and I think like in that journey, the when you are told, right, like it's always going to, for me personally, it's always going to circle back to my church trauma. When you're constantly told that you cannot have this, of course, like when I came out, I was like, I'm gonna show them, and I did get the straight women. I did, and it was fun because I was like, no, that you are wrong. I could move in that way, and I could show up in spaces and be myself and attract women, and people would be attracted to my energy, and they would be drawn to that energy versus my genitals, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm thinking of baby Kanye.
Baby
Oh,
gay. Baby gay
oh,
Kanye just out there in the world doing the most.
oh. Learning lessons the hard way. But 8 years is still like that's a lot of time to spend with someone, and like, you know, that's
It's a long time.
that's a long time.
It's so long of it's a long time. We reconnected a few months ago, and I said to her, how have you been since we broke up? And she was like, it's been the worst. And she said to me, I'm trying to find you in a man. Like I'm trying to recreate. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm a fucking good time. I'll tell you that.
You and me both, girl. You and me both.
She's like, I'm trying to recreate that relationship. And I was like, it's not going to work because men don't have, not that some of them do have, but it's rare where men can allow themselves that amount of emotional holding that same sex couples tend to have.
Okay. All right. All right. How do we lighten this up a little bit now?
Let's
Let's
go.
talk. let's Woo. Okay. Let's talk about places where dating was not fun.
Um, uh, uh, it's not fun here.
In Austin.
It's not fun in Austin. I'm
What
not
makes it
having a
not
great
fun in
time.
Austin?
I'm I'm on the apps, and maybe
Uh-huh.
this is my fault. I'm on the apps. I just don't like how much I repeat myself on the apps. It's like I'm introducing myself over and 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 over again. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
and I'm having the same conversations. I also get lazy. So I think what might make it fun is if I go out, but I'm old and lazy to go out. I would rather be home. So I'm just like, where I did meet someone actually. I am seeing someone and we are in this poly situation. So I'm not single. And that was fun because we met at a work conference,
Okay. Hmm.
yeah, so that was nice. And she's coming to visit next week, so it was nice to just be like, say hi to someone, make that have you ever been flirted with by another woman?
Yes.
It's all in the eyes.
Is it? Like, I don't. I'm like. It's been a while.
It's all eye
Okay.
contact.
Okay.
So next time just be like, that eye
Okay.
contact is a little bit too long.
Okay.
Right. And so I like meeting people in that way where I can have that eye contact. I can have a conversation with you and talk to you. So that's how we met, and it's going okay. It has its challenges being poly, but for the most part, it's fun.
All right. So this was not why you were here, but I haven't had anyone poly on the video before, so we doing this. We're doing this. All right. Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about poly life because, like,
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Like, I feel like your energy would say, like, I don't know if there's like a center, but like that's the energy you're giving me right now. But from the story you told, it sounds like you're not like the center of the poly circle. Tell me more.
I
Tell
am
me
not the
everything. Is there a
center of
center?
the polycircle, and that's the struggle, right? To not be the center.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so you're like, girl, you look like you should be at the center of this thing.
Like your
I,
energy says, like, it's me,
it's
right?
me.
Like,
I
it's
am
me.
the one. It got complicated. It got complicated real quick. I'm not gonna share how it got complicated. Um, but not but and I'm learning to not be the center. How does it feel
Okay.
like to not be the center? To and not in a way where it's like, everyone knows. Like the beauty about poly is like everybody knows it's not just you, girl.
Right.
There's someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we hold loving spaces for everybody that's involved in the situation?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, what I'm learning is how do I hold loving space for myself, right?
Okay.
And in holding that loving space for myself is how do I communicate that things don't feel good. So that's kind of where I am with the poly.
Sorry.
Oh, that's hi, Birdie.
Every once in a while you hear it like smack something, and this is the closest it's gotten to me. Okay. All right. We
Oh,
don't. It's got. All right. There we go. Sorry. Back to the conversation. All right. You're holding loving space for yourself. That was a very like coaching moment. It felt like when you said that. I felt the life coachness like bubble up
just come
when
out.
you said holding space for yourself. So, um, for the girlies who need some education, give us some things, maybe some terms we need to know about
Okay.
the poly lifestyle.
Girl, I am new, okay? So
Okay.
this is what I know so far.
All right.
There's different ways to be poly. It's not just one
Mm-hmm.
way.
Well.
There's different types of structures. There's like the hierarchical structure where you have a primary partner, and this is like your nesting partner. This is who you make financial decisions with. This is like
Hmm.
your person. Everyone else is just kind of, oh, that's not a nice way to say it, but like everyone else is not your primary.
Okay.
And then there's also people who practice relationship anarchy, where there's no primary partner and everyone is just kind of like the same.
Okay.
There's solo poly, which is what I'm going to be leaning towards.
What's it
Solo
called?
poly,
Solo
solo
poly?
poly. I call it
Okay.
like such. I'm like, this is a cute way of being a slut, but like you name it
Well,
again. But like you're like, I'm solo poly.
I'm solo
And
poly.
so
Okay.
that one feels important for me because up until recently, I've been a serial monogamist. And what that has meant was most of my decisions centered around a partner, where I lived, how long I lived there, do you know what I mean? Like there's always someone coming along. Now I kind of want to experience, even if it's just for a year or 2 years, life where I decide I'm going to move to Thailand by myself, and this is a decision that I'm making for me because it feels good for me, and I don't have someone to be bouncing it off of. And so that feels important for me right now.
Okay.
Mhm.
So if you're solo poly,
Mhm.
you don't share anything you don't want to here, safe space. But what is you described a partner earlier.
Mhm. With
How would she describe her relationship?
me,
Her poly relationship, whatever's going on with her in her world.
I think she would. Girl, I'm about to find out next week. All right, but for now. I think she would describe it as figuring it out.
Okay.
So long story short, she was with someone and the person didn't want to be poly, and then she broke up with the person, and then she was like, "Do you want to do this with me?" I was like, "Girl, I'll be poly with you." this person then decides that she now wants to be poly, so now she's in the mix. I know.
Okay. So I guess my question is, and maybe we'll find out. Stay tuned for next week. No, maybe we'll find out later.
Bring me back.
All right. If that's her primary partner, or if she's practicing, what do you say, relationship anarchy,
So
polyanarchy?
she's trying to practice relationship anarchy. I don't think I can. Like, I know myself. I love, because of how it's gonna get deep a little bit too now. We'll just come back to some seriousness. Because of how I grew up, I crave stability, and relationship anarchy doesn't feel stable for me. Like, I like knowing that when I come home to my partner, and when she comes home to me, and like we can float, we can be like an anchor, right? We can be just floating on this boat, but there's always something that's anchoring us, like a point of return. And so, what she is imagining, I don't think I can be fully involved in. I like her. She's so dope. She's so fucking cool. Little Colombiana. She's got that like sassy Latina vibes. But I'm not interested in the way in which she wants to be poly, because I like a house that has photos of me and my partner, and this is who we are to each other. So.
Okay. So can you give me a little bit more detail about the difference between relationship anarchy and solo poly?
Yeah.
Because in
So
my brain, they sound a lot alike.
they do sound similar. How I remember, I'm pretty new. How I kind of like see the difference. I read this book, Polysecure, and she does a really good job of explaining this stuff. But it is like, when you are poly anarchy, like relationship anarchy, is like everybody's equal, everybody's the same. You don't have a primary partner, and what that means is, say, G and I can have this life where we merge our finances, but she can go and merge her finances with someone else too, right? Like, well, we buy a house together. She can go and buy a house with someone else too. Like, and there's this thing. Whereas, so it's not like she still has this no, like, merging, whereas with solo poly, and that's why it's a temporary thing for me, because I know I can't be like that for a long time, because I like that type of partnership. It's like it's all me. Like, I don't merge with anybody. I don't, I date everybody I date knows I'm dating other people. And so there's that ethical non-monogamy vibe where people
Ethical
know.
slut kind. Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right. Here. All right. Okay. So, do you think when you find your person, are you thinking that in the future it's going to be monogamy or primary partner kind of poly relationship?
I think it will be primary partner.
Okay. So, all right. What is it about polyamory that is pulling you towards that side?
I've I've always questioned our society's draw to monogamy. Not that it's like, I think we treat monogamy as the norm. Like, anything outside of monogamy kind of gets treated as like the obscurity. But if you trace our history and how we became monogamous, it's rooted in patriarchy. It's rooted in ownership of the other. It's rooted in men being like, well, when I die, who gets my shit, right? And so if you understand the history of how we became monogamous as a society, that's one. And two, it is a long life, and I like to be in play and pleasure and joy. And I think we can create relationships where that doesn't have to be just from one person, right? Like, yeah. And I think poly allows us to kind of stretch and expand. Like what I'm learning now is like how to be honest in communication. I'm somebody that's recovering from people pleasing, and it is so hard to be honest and say, I feel like this doesn't feel good. And being poly is like helping me do that.
Okay. So you're a single girly in the
Out here.
city.
I'm out here.
All right. What are you looking like? What are you looking for in your next partner? In case they're
Ease.
watching, ease.
I'm looking for ease. I'm
Okay.
looking for. My partner asked me a few months ago. She was like, what do you think you bring in a relationship?" And I'm like, I think I bring joy. I'm a very serious person in life because of my job and like the things that I do, whether that's writing or speaking. I want a relationship that's full of ease and joy, and also someone that just likes to be at home and drink wine and watch TV, and that's enough. We have this.
Okay.
I like to be in the quiet with somebody and be comfortable in the silence.
Now you just said you were an extrovert, and I was gonna talk mess about you for that, because y'all be wanting to go outside a lot.
I'm a weird one in that, like, I do like being outside, but I love being at home.
Do you?
I love it.
Okay. All right. So, she brings ease. She's open to the poly life, right? That's what you want?
She's open to being open. Okay, so I'll give you
No,
context.
remember, we
I
want
have.
what we want. Don't see you're gonna end up with a woman who's like, no monogamy or nothing. Quit playing around.
I don't want to be in a monogamous relationship. I
Okay.
don't like the pressure of being everything to everyone. It's a lot. I don't want to be everything to somebody. And that's not to say, right, you could be someone who has friends, because friends can be that too.
Mhm.
But I like non-monogamy in that I get to connect with other people, and I get to flirt, and I get to have fun, and I get to be in my body with them without this guilt that I'm doing something wrong. If I meet someone who I am so connected with and I'm just like locked in on this person, then you know we could just have threesomes together. That would be fun.
Okay. And you wouldn't consider that poly?
I would consider that open, because polyamory has this overtone of emotional connection with other people
Okay.
as well, where being open is more like you can go and you can have sex with other people, come home, be safe. There's not this like there's no like emotional connection, not all the time, but there's like, I feel like poly, the overarching is like that. It's like multiple loves, like that's literally what it means, multiple loves. So
So I'm gonna press you on this a little bit because I want to make sure this ad that I'm putting out for your future lovers is actually accurate.
You're hooking me
I mean,
up.
someone's gonna watch
Oh,
this
okay,
and be
okay,
like,
okay,
"What's
okay,
up,
okay,
Austin?" So
okay,
let's do this.
okay.
Okay. So you are open to a monogamous relationship that is open,
Mm-hmm.
or polyamory. So you can be
Yes.
monogamous if that relationship is an open relationship.
Have you ever heard of the term monogamish?
No, but I like it. Okay. All right. I don't like it for me, but I like it. Be clear.
I like it for other people.
I also date men, so you got to be real clear about.
Okay. 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 So monogamish is just what I explained. It is when we're together, we're monogamous. When we play together. But if I have a work trip and I'm going to Germany, for example, Germany is coming up because I literally just got back on Friday. It's like if I make a connection there, I have the ability to do that, right? And so
Okay.
it's monogamish, but I'm always going to return. I'm always going to come back to my person.
Okay. So so monogamish.
I do want a person that's my person.
Okay,
Yeah.
monogamish or poly with a primary relationship. Those are
Yes.
your two preferred. All right.
Yes.
Ladies, you heard her. She's in Austin. How should they contact you?
You can DM me on Instagram,
Which is linked in the description. Now, don't go ahead. I'm gonna tell you right now.
I'm gonna have to message you and be like, "Ooh, you did find me a lover."
Listen, if I find you one, you have to find me one, though. That's the way it works. Let's not forget.
I'm good with men. I'm really good with men.
You?
I got you.
I'm terrible with men. All right, so let's work this out.
Okay.
Okay, so but don't be DMing her no BS. If you're watching this, you will not have gotten this far if you didn't want to hear about lesbian women. But if you did, and you got here,
if you do DM, don't abbreviate, and don't just say hi. Hit me with a full sentence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm about to DM her hi right now, y'all, and see what happens. Hi. I'm gonna be like, hey, with like
I don't know
4
what you want me to
Ys.
do with this. I get people DMing me on TikTok, on Instagram.
Do you?
They're like, hi. I'm like,
what? Where
you've
do we
lost
go?
it. I only reply to people who are
like,
feel like, hey, I was at that talk and I heard you. Do you want to connect? Then let's have a conversation.
Yes, if you DM me one word, I now have to do all the work, and I don't even know where you came from. That's more work for me to do. I gotta vet you.
No. Oh, and also, do you know what? A pet peeve, because I'm old. Don't abbreviate. Just say, if you're asking me how I am, just write how are you. Write the whole thing with a question mark. I don't like that HRU stuff.
Also, I'm old enough that does not happen in my DMs. But children do not DM me because what
no, sometimes
I
it's
like
grown women. I also, I spoke on this earlier. I don't like women who tell me that they were straight until they found my content on the internet. I don't enjoy.
It's also weird because like you've actually never met me. Like you've seen.
Yeah.
You're still straight.
And when that happens too, I'm like, my content is not this, right? I'm not out there. I'm like literally being like, how are you feeling? You know, like my content is very like.
I mean, maybe that's the connection that like they were straight until they felt into your heart. They saw your openness and your vulnerability, and now they're not straight no more.
Oh no, they better stay straight. They missed the boat by a while.
Okay, we're supposed to be talking about traveling, and okay, I want to give a shout out to Marissa, who is here, who's my virtual assistant, because I was looking for people, and she was like, "Do you know about Coach Kanye?" And I was like, "I don't. Send me her thing." And I saw her Instagram, and I was like, "She's the one. She's the one to have this conversation." So your Instagram is working.
Okay.
Your YouTube channel, you have a YouTube channel, which is also linked in the description. It's working to at least get, it's why we're. It's how I came to you. It's how I.
Thank you, Marissa.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about traveling and dating. When you go to, I travel a lot. I'm in places for a very short time. Sometime I'll open the app and I'll see I'll change the location. So it's set for the location I'm in. But then I close the app and I forget to go in the app for like a week and a half. And now I'm about to leave the place in 3 days or 2 days. And these men be like, hi. And I know I'm not interested in, here's the thing. I'm not interested enough in this profile that you have put up as a man, which has like no information at all. And maybe one shirtless photo. To pursue this enough for us to get to meeting it within 3 days. And even if we meet, I'm not big on strangers. So at the most we gonna have coffee or something for within this next 3 days.
Yeah, I gotta vet you. I can't just give you access to my body. I don't know you.
Stranger. Okay, my mom and my my bonus mom are both watching this right now. Hi, Marilyn. Okay, so. And then I don't tend to meet men when I don't go to bars usually I travel alone, and I don't go to, I don't want to be inside at night. Once it gets dark, I would like to be inside, preferably alone, away from people. And so I don't tend to meet men when I'm traveling around the world, which is weird because I come to realize that most men think that when women are traveling around the world, they're just sleeping with people in this location and that location. Like it's like it's like a multi-day fuckathon in like a man's brain. And I'm like,
it should be.
But like, I just want to see a pretty sight. I saw a bird on my balcony today. Boom, I'm done for the day, right?
Yeah.
So what is the experience like when you are dating women? You said you're on the apps, you don't love it, but when you're traveling and you give them the eyes, is it easier to like meet women as a lesbian than what I described as my experience as a straight woman?
I think with women, it's more complicated because when I go up to a woman that I find attractive, it's there's a little bit more that I have to do to convince them that I don't just think they're cute.
Okay.
Right.
What does that mean? So like, why do you have to do that work?
Okay. So one, girls compliment each other all the time. There's nothing special about me coming up to you and be like, oh my God, you're so cute. Or like, that outfit is bad. Do you know what I mean? And so the extra work that I have to do is to use body language to communicate to you that this is not, we are on homo. I think you're cute and that's on homo right now, right? Do you know what I mean? Versus like me trying to be your friend. So I think there's that extra labor. And also, man, I feel like with the world changing and a lot of us are out and proud, there was a time where it was like, you could just be like, oh, that's one of us. Now you just don't know. And so a lot of the times I ask, are you queer? What's your thing? Because I don't want to waste time trying to hit on someone that's not, And also, straight women are funny because straight women like being hit on by other women, so they will play with that shit, and then they will be like, no, actually, you're so nice. Actually,
but okay, so this hasn't happened in a long time, but like I used to live in Oakland and I was a baldy. I got hit on by women all the time. Like back in like the late 90s, baldy in Oakland, California. Yes, the women were there. Now, not as much, but because in my brain, because of the way that women talk to other women versus the way men talk to women, I haven't been flirted with it by a woman in a long time, but now I'm like, I could use that energy, right? Like men generally don't know what they're doing. Right? And like women tend to be so nice to others, and like they compliment you on things that like matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I can definitely understand why a woman is like, let's flirt all night and then okay, bye.
Okay,
right?
bye.
Like,
You're like,
unfortunately.
Yeah, I could have been flirting with someone gay, You just took my whole night. You owe me for that. And so I think like that complicates it a bit. And then B, I don't know, like it's hard to flirt if you're not good at flirting. It's just hard to flirt if you're not someone that enjoys flirting.
Are you implying that you are not someone who enjoys flirting?
Okay,
all right. Okay, I was like, let's pause.
You're like, oh my God, where did we find this girl? No. I'm good at it only because I enjoy it. Even if it doesn't lead to anything, I like that play. I like the flirt. I like the sexy that comes with flirting. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you go out, meet a woman, you think she's cute, you're flirting, you ask her if she's queer. At some point, how long does it take for you to get to that question usually?
If I feel myself like, because you can tell like, oh, we're now vibing, and they're giving me energy back and I'm giving them energy back, I'm going to be like, so, and I don't go like, you know, are you queer? I'll be like, so who do you
Check
date?
the box.
You know,
Oh,
who do
you
you
date?
date?
I
Yeah.
like
And then
that.
they'll be like,
Okay.
oh, I date everybody, or I date men, or I date women. And then that's like, then I'm like, oh, I can keep flirting. If they go, I date men, I'm like, do not keep flirting, Kanye. That is
Okay. Bye.
bye. You are not going to convince this woman to date you. We
Okay.
don't do that anymore. So yeah, it's just like finding a moment in the conversation. And also like, I feel like women are so, no, I don't want to use the word quick, but women are so good at tapping into their sensuality. I think even with friends, like we're so quick to just be all up in each other's like sensual energy. And so I think it's important for me. It's been important to know before I invest my time bringing out all the sexy.
You be holding it back.
I
You
be
holding
holding,
some of that
oh, I
sexy
hold it
back.
back. I hold back. I'm like, I need to know where my sexy is going.
But don't act like you don't have an unlimited supply of the sexy. Like you
Of
don't
the
have to hold
sexy?
it back.
No,
You don't have to
I
hold it back.
don't. Oh my God, I don't. Don't let this hat fool you. I feel like when I wear a hat, I'm like, yes. No.
It's the hat magic. Oh
It's
wait,
the
are you
hat magic.
catfishing like
It's the hat
men?
magic.
Where
Tell
like
me
they
to
take
take
the
off
hat
this
off?
hat, and I'm just
It's a
like
completely different person.
totally different.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so you're in a different city now. You're not at home. You're
Mhm.
out. You're flirting.
Mhm.
This bar, when you go out, are you typically looking for gay, lesbian bars, queer bars, or are you like anywhere I go, I'm looking? Okay, yes. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
No, when I'm traveling, I try to find queer spaces. Not even to flirt, just to be around queer people. Um, the lesbian bar situation can be a bit sad. Like it's not as popping as gay men. But when you find a good one, you find a good one. You know.
Okay.
Like when I was in London, I found some gay bars and it was fun. But I wasn't alone. She met me in London. So I am intentional about finding queer spaces. I think it's important too. I think like it's like from community to, you know, I can walk up in there and be myself. Whereas sometimes in like quote unquote, but I also feel like the world is merging. Like when I was in Australia, I was like, where are the gay bars? They're like, we don't have them because we all hang out.
Okay.
Like we're all there's not like, oh, that's where the queer people hang out. It's like in Sydney, it's like everybody is with each other, right? So you have places like that too. But I do like to find queer spaces when I'm traveling.
I can definitely imagine the benefit of queer spaces, especially if you're entering a new culture where you don't know necessarily what flirting looks like. Well, that's one of the things that hits me. Like, is this person flirting with me, or are they just, you know,
Yeah.
talking to me about something random? Because I
Yeah.
don't know what that energy. The energy looks different around the world, right? So I can
Mm-hmm.
see that being beneficial to know
Mm-hmm. And
whether
for
this is
safety
someone.
too, right? For
Yes.
safety as well, because I know for the most part, when I am in queer spaces, I don't have to have my guard up. I can be myself. I can flirt and dance, and sometimes straight women that go into those places, even if they're just flirting for fun, they're not offended that they got hit on by
Right.
another woman. Which, by the way, I think it's weird as fuck when women get offended that a woman hit on you. It's a compliment. It is a compliment when another woman hits on you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
take it like that, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So around the world, you're at a bar, you're flirting, you ask who they date women, and now what?
You want the play-by-play?
Give us the peak, like you at your best. Come on, give it to us.
Oh, well, I will say that I do get rejected sometimes, and that's sad. But if it goes well, then we exchange numbers. if it goes really well and we're nice and tipsy, we can do like a little like just go beyond the flirting a little bit, a little kissing. I don't. I almost lied. Um, yeah. So we just see how well we vibe.
Okay. Thank you for not lying. I appreciate
I was
that.
going to, and then I was like, oh my god, I almost lied. That was not necessary.
We don't have to go there at all. Okay. So, have you been successful on the apps around the world?
No.
No.
I haven't been. I haven't. I was successful I was successful when I just moved to Thailand, but I was rebounding, and it didn't end well because hurt people, and so.
So you were the problem.
I was the problem for sure. And she even told me this is the thing, and that's not to excuse my own behavior, but she was like, you're not emotionally available for a relationship. And I told her, I was like, yo, I just got out of this thing, and this is how it worked out, and I'm just like genuinely looking for just a good time. And 2 weeks in, she was asking me to be her girlfriend, and I was like, I can't be your girlfriend. This is what's going on. You told me that I wasn't emotionally available. And then she asked again, and I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. She was leaving in 2 months. So I was like, I'll be your girlfriend for 2 months. I should have said no, because what I genuinely wanted to do, but that's when I was a people pleaser. Because what I genuinely wanted to do was just date, right? And so, and it just didn't, it wasn't fun for her or for me. So that didn't end well. And that was my app experience.
Okay. All right. Have you heard what I want us to get to, if we can, is are there good apps in good locations for queer, specifically queer Black women? So have you heard of anyone else being successful using the apps and like feeling good about it?
I mean, yeah, there's an app called Her.
Her, H-E-R?
Mm-hmm. And it's like queer women, and a lot of women have met each other on there.
Okay.
The only thing I don't
Is
like
it
about
worldwide?
that app, yeah, but
Is
what
it
I don't like is like it shows you people from all over. And I'm like, no, I want someone I can
I
drive
want
to
her
in 50
here. Yes.
minutes. I want her right here.
Yes.
So people have, and there's a new one now called Tammy or something. I think it's called Tammy, and people have been saying good things about it.
All right. Someone in this chat needs to know something about Tammy.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, JG is here, who was just at Pride in Mexico City. So my friend JG, we want to hear all about it. So get to type in the chat and let us know how Pride in Mexico City was last weekend.
That must have been so
I
much
don't know.
fun.
It's her. Okay, and she said, I knew she would know. Tammy. She said Tammy is okay, but there's no big raving about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do you feel like you said Thailand, as a Black woman, Thailand was nice. Natasha says Tammy is so. We're getting like meh reviews about Tammy. All right.
I haven't used it.
Okay. As a Black queer woman, where would you say, we've already covered South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So aside from anywhere in Africa, we're going to put that to the side right now. Where would you say, don't waste your time trying to find love as a Black queer woman? Is there any location that you've been to?
Australia.
Australia? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I found Australia was a very racist country. And I can say that with my full chest because when Nelson Mandela became president, all the racist South Africans ran to Australia for a safe haven for their racism. So Australia, I felt like, although I had a partner when I was in Australia, but I barely saw any Black people. Like,
Okay.
in a day. Sometimes I would see 2. It was insane.
Okay. What
Yeah.
city were you in?
I was in Melbourne and Sydney.
Okay. Well, guess who's going to Sydney next week? Yay!
Yay. No, you'll
So,
have fun. You'll
okay.
have fun, but it's I didn't, and their racism is very like, they're not gonna hurt you, but they'll say some shit.
Oh, fun.
Fun.
Okay.
Why are you
Oh.
going to Sydney?
I was already over here, so I was like, let me just see what it's like, and then I'm going to New Zealand, so
I know.
just check
One
it
of
out.
my memories, I was walking down the street, and a group of African Americans in a car saw me, and they literally drove slow, and they were screaming, and they're like, "It's so good to see you here." I was like, "Oh my God, it's so good to see," because
Yeah.
you barely see Black people there.
Okay. That does feel very like very American to be like cousin.
Hi! Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at
So
you.
it's also weird being in this part of the world and knowing that Australia is so close to Fiji, and these people in Fiji are Black. Like there's no every morning someone is like multiple people are like, it's so good to see you. You look just like us. And we do
Oh.
like someone messaged me and was like, have you seen? Because we have a mutual friend who has someone who she's adopted as her like grandmother.
Mm.
For those of you that know Keena Williams, it's her. Oh, this is the welcome drumming that you hear right now, if you can hear that. Hola. Every time someone comes, they do that.
Oh.
So she has a Black grandmother that she adopted. And so we thought she found a Black woman that looked like her. But I'm hearing like they all look like me. They all look like some version of Black. And so it's so interesting to be in a country where like the women, like more women have afros than straight hair, right?
Mhm.
Like it's a very, very Black location. And it's weird because like we all the way out here in South Pacific and like we
Yeah.
look related. We all look related. And so yeah, knowing that it's so close to Australia and so many Australians, this is like one of their main vacation spots. It's interesting to
That
like,
in Bali, they love
yeah.
Bali.
Oh God, I was in Bali. Like, get me out of here.
You
Get
didn't
me out
like
of here.
Bali? I loved Bali.
It was too many.
Oh. Yeah, they're all there.
And unwashed. It was too many of the unwashed Australians. I'm not saying that all Australians are unwashed. I'm saying that Bali had a high concentration of I haven't had a shower this week.
The
Australia.
surfers think the ocean washes them.
And I
No.
I was like, I don't enjoy because it felt like it was hard to find like the authentic Bali experience
Yeah.
because everywhere you went, it was people catering to the
Oh,
foreigners
yeah.
all
No,
over the
I
place.
remember my last time in Bali, there was a year where I went to Bali like 3 times. And the last time I went, I literally got on a scooter. I was like, I need to find where the brown people live because I am not okay. Like, got on a scooter, drove around, found like the little spots where the locals ate. And that's where I was eating
Mm-hmm.
that day, found the grocery stores because I was like, I don't like it when I'm traveling and I feel like I'm not in the place that I'm at. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't, no.
Okay.
Because I'm missing
All
out
right.
on the culture and I travel for culture.
Travel culture. I want to see other local people. I don't necessarily. I challenge sometimes with like I want to see how the local people live because I do, but like then I'm in a township in South Africa and it feels like a yucky part of tourism. Like in that like it can feel like good to like learn how people are doing things, but I also don't like the like let's tour through this village of very poor folks and see how they live.
No, it's
And
all about it's all about intention. Like I remember
yeah.
the ex of 8 years and I, we did like quite a lot of traveling together. and we were in Taman Negara. It's this small island outside of Malaysia. And they do this tour where they take you to the natives, right? And we go there, and I could take, it's like treating human beings like you're in a zoo.
The zoo. Yeah.
and and I was watching the little people kind of interact, and so I was like, oh, we need to back off, like, because also, and I'm traveling, I'm literally like one of two black people, so we were like two black people in this group. So I was like, you know what, I was like, this is a lot, let's back off. And what ended up happening though is that the villagers we went to see, they came to us and they're like, do you want to say this, and do you want to blow, because they could see that we were like not treating them as like, oh, look at you, like, oh my God, you live up in this tree house.
Yeah. And that, so the challenge is that your intent is one thing, but there's also the tour guide and the rest of your group, and like so much of it goes into how you're going to experience it. And a lot of people are there for the zoo experience, right? A lot of people want
to take the
zoo
photos to
right. Let me take a photo, taking photos of the kids.
Stop people putting other people's children on the internet. I hate that.
Please.
Stop it.
Please. So it's challenging doing that in places where it's like, I'd love to know more about life here, but without that zoo experience.
That zoo experience. I want to know more without you feeling like I'm invading your space for money.
Yeah.
And like you have to perform for me because I'm giving you money.
Yeah. I was somewhere I may have been in Colombia, and like you go somewhere and then the people come out and the dance troupe starts, and it's like, what were y'all doing before we showed up here? Like, let me see what that was. Were y'all just sitting around and watching TV? Like, that's what I want to know. I don't need you to come out here and
also, and here's the thing too, right? Like, they have to make their money. I was annoyed one time. I was on a boat and this girl was like, oh my God, Filipinos are so nice and like they're so kind. Like, they're so poor and I'm like, yo, I've lived with Filipinos. Those motherfuckers will cut you. They will cut you. And like when you live in a country and you see people, like see their humanity past the fake smiles that they have to give you because you're touring and that's how they make a living. I'm like, Filipinos make a living from those smiles. When they go home, they are dealing with an alcoholic husband. They're dealing like they are, and what that does is erase people's experiences. This is why I refuse to talk about the gay experience in Thailand and say it's overarching, it's the same for everybody. Because then when I do that, I remove someone else's truth, the person who grows up there and experiences homophobia from their own community. Just because I don't doesn't mean it doesn't happen to them, right? And so to say, oh, they're so kind and so nice, I'm like, then you're removing their humanity because they have to be. They talk to you that way because they have to.
Sorry. There's I think there's a train coming through right now.
Okay. There's a lot going on over there in Fiji.
I think that's what we're hearing. Yeah. I think we're hearing the train. There's a train that train tracks were here before they built the resort. And so the train tracks actually come through the resort carrying sugarcane because that's their biggest crop here, sugarcane. So, yeah, interesting. Okay, so you're dating, you're traveling. Are there other places you've been to where you didn't feel comfortable, where you wouldn't feel comfortable holding your partner's hand?
Guatemala City.
Okay. I didn't feel comfortable in Guatemala City to begin with, like by myself.
No. So. I felt watched. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I felt very watched. And the watching didn't feel like, oh, I'm just watching it. It was a bit of like, it put me on edge a little bit. So I wasn't doing that in Guatemala City. Um, where else? I love Guatemala though. Oh, I want to go back. Yeah.
There were a lot more guns in Guatemala City than I expected. Like people holding like a
Yeah.
shotgun to guard the
Yeah.
candy store. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's
was
like,
like,
wait,
I don't really like this
what's
experience.
happening? What's
Right,
happening?
like the clothes in that store are like it's like it's $3 a shirt and like
Yeah.
$4 pants. And there's a man outside with like a very large gun.
No,
Doing security.
Guatemala felt edgy for sure.
It did. It did.
Let me see. Costa Rica only because PDA is illegal in Costa Rica, or at least it was when I lived there.
Okay.
So I wasn't trying to like be that gay person that breaks the law.
Which were you in San Jose or were you out somewhere else?
I was my school. I did my master's program in Costa Rica, and the school was about 45 minutes outside of San Jose.
Okay. What city was it in?
Cuidar Colon.
Okay. I don't know.
It's beautiful.
Question for you, which I don't want to get too personal, but you know I'm nosy, so here we are. I often hear people say that. Actually, let me back up a second. Was gay PDA illegal or all PDA illegal? Because
They said all PDA was illegal.
Okay.
So when we got there, and I don't know if it was just the school trying to protect us, because I used to see like locals PDAing all the time, but they were like it's considered disrespectful.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So I hear all the time from people who are from different countries in Africa how hard it is to get visas and how hard it is to travel. And I'm hearing you going to all these places and all of, visiting so many countries, living in so many countries. So I want to talk about your experience traveling and the issues you have or had. How is basically my question. Like, how, as a South African, have you been able to go to all these places?
It's hard. Like I recently applied for the Schengen visa and I was not happy. I actually emailed them to be like, I'm coming home. Like, you don't need my entire life story. They're like, we want proof of this. We want your taxes. I was like, I sent them an email and I was like giving up on this visa. I was like, I guess I'm not going to this thing. And I was like, I just want you to know that I have no intention of not coming back. I have an apartment here. I have a life here. I have a business here. And they gave it to me. And I'm like, that just goes to show that the hoops that I have to jump to go to these places is unnecessary. If I can just send back an email that's like, I don't have the shit that you're asking me for, but I promise you I'm coming home.
Okay.
And so it hasn't, like, I was denied the US visa like 3 times before I could finally come here. 3 times. And the reason I got denied is they didn't believe that I wouldn't want to come and be a citizen. Or I remember the one time I felt I was like, that is so, I told him, I was like, that's so racist. I had a job I was teaching at a university in Malaysia. My school wrote the letter, my apartment lease, like everything they asked for. I had a folder this thick with my degrees, everything. And I give it to this guy. He didn't even look at it, did not look at it. He said no. And then I said, excuse me? He said, you look like you will just want to live there. And I said, and do what? He was like, I don't know. You just look like you wouldn't want to come back. So no.
You're Black. So
You're Black. You're
so,
Black. You're going to love America so much that and I remember being so offended, and I was like, that is insane. Like, and what was infuriating was the list of everything they tell you to prepare to come for that interview, and to then have someone not even look at everything that you've prepared.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you look at my folder, there's a letter from my boss. Like, the school head is like, she works here. We've given her off for this X amount of time. And he was like, no, you're not gonna. So it hasn't been easy. you know. But when I travel countries like Asia, it's easier for South Africans to travel. We don't need visas. We can stay for like
Okay.
90 days for most Asian countries. Same with like most Central American countries. I still get called in the offices, you
Do
know.
you?
I do.
Okay.
Like I remember being called in the office. Where was I? Belize or Guatemala. And it was, and the guy whose office I go there, and he's like, "Where are you from?" And he takes my passport, and he's like, "Oh, you are from South Africa. Oh my God, I love South Africa. Go ahead." I was like, and then he goes, "Welcome home." And I'm like,
Oh.
why was I sent to your office? Like the person and the guy, he was like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "We're the same people, you and I. Like, if you look at our history." And I was like,
Oh.
someone send me to your office. So it's not easy. And I can imagine that there are people who live in countries that it's even more complicated. Like,
Mhm.
you know, so
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that is terrible. But I'm glad you've had the access to all these countries. What all in your business again? What have you been doing? You said you've been in Austin for 4 years, right? Can we talk about that?
Yep.
Okay. What have you been doing in Austin?
I have been, when I got here, I got married. My partner and I got
Oh,
married.
okay.
And then we just got divorced. It didn't work out. It's so weird to be like, I'm divorced. I'm like, oh, I'm divorced. And so I went through the whole immigration thing, and then I had a job. I worked at Facebook. That was amazing.
Okay. All right.
It was so wild. I was like, tech is a world of its own. I was not prepared for the mayhem. And then, but now I work full time as a life coach
Okay.
online.
All right. And you're in Austin. You have a green card?
Yeah,
So you can leave and come back. No
yeah,
worries.
yeah.
Okay.
Also, I
Um,
thought that the green card would make it easy for me to travel everywhere else. It doesn't. I still have to do all the things.
yeah. Does it make it easier for like Canada,
Oh
maybe?
yeah, I can just
Yeah.
go in and out of Canada.
Okay. Um, but yeah, the green card doesn't get you as much as that passport does.
Doesn't get me in
Um,
Europe. I'll tell you that. No.
we can barely go to Europe. They've been like, it's been 90 days.
Bah.
Like,
Get out of
time
here.
to, time to go. And you can like, you can like here for
Yeah.
this and there for that
What
and
do
go
they
to
call it?
London or go to somewhere else
Visa
that's
hop. Yeah,
outside of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
But like, ew. Um, what you want to leave? You're ready to leave Austin?
hmm I'm ready to leave America.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And do you want to talk about what's next for you?
Well, yes. I think what's next for me is I want to go back to Asia. I've never been to like India, Sri Lanka, and that part of the Asian world. And so I want to travel, and I feel like Thailand will be a good base for that.
Okay.
And I think what's next is to sort of like, I'm going to be serious again, is to, a lot of what I do in my work is help people figure out what they want. And so I think I need to give myself that same time of being by myself and being like, what do I want? Where do I want to live? And I messaged a friend of mine. She lives in Thailand, and she was like, "What are you looking for?" And I said, I'm looking for fun and queerness and community. And she was like, Bangkok has all of that. Bangkok has all of those things. And so it's calling me for sure, but that'll be like in January after my
Okay.
birthday. I'll probably be going there. Yeah.
January is right around the corner, though. So
I know. And my
I
birthday
mean,
is January 1st, and I'll be
is it?
40.
You're a New
Mhm.
Year's
I'm a
baby.
New Year's baby,
Yay!
and I want to
That's
spend my
awesome.
birthday in Zanzibar.
Okay.
So
All
fingers
right.
crossed I can make
Zanzibar
that.
for New Year's sounds good.
Huh?
Zanzibar for the New Year's sounds good.
Yeah, it does. So I wanna go spend my. I've always wanted to go to Zanzibar since I was a teenager. So I was like, that's where I want to go be 40.
Okay. Nice. Okay. When you travel, are you mostly a solo traveler, or are you traveling typically with someone else or with other?
Now I've been more solo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before you were
Yeah.
hand in hand with your partner?
Dragging along these women wherever I'm going.
Those women
Coming
in the book.
along.
And let's talk about the book. Let's talk about the book real quick.
Okay.
Tell me everything.
So the book is kind of like memoir style. I wanted to write a book that I knew if I was a young girl looking for, I couldn't find. So, and the way that I wrote it, it's more like life meets travel. It's a lot of like things that happen. It's like telling a story about my life, but like all of that is centered around the topic of traveling. So I talk about coming out. I talk about my mom. I talk about my childhood because it's so funny. People don't believe me when I say I grew up really poor because I've had these traveling experiences. And so it's like they can't logically be like, oh, but what do you mean you grew up poor? So I talk about, being raised by my poor grandparents and that what that looked like and how I ended up studying to travel anyway. So it's like it's a whole lot of truth telling.
Okay. Why did you, when you first started, did you know you were writing a book when you started writing the book?
No, I love to journal. That's one of my
Okay.
favorite things. So I thought I was journaling. And then when I was living in Costa Rica, I was like, I would like to write a book about this life experiences that I've had because I'm from those places where people don't really get out. When they do, they'll be like in Johannesburg or Cape Town. And not a lot of people in my town would ever have the experiences that I've had. And so I wanted to kind of like tell a different story about what we get to be and who we get to be without having this like our past being like defining us to us who we can be and what we can do. So that's why I wrote it. I'm going to write the second edition because I've traveled more. And I feel like with that first book, there was a lot that's not in the book. Now that I've lived more and now that I'm older and can kind of like zoom out from those stories, I can go back in and retell them with more depth.
Okay. If you're watching right now, what are some questions I have not asked Coach Khanyisa because I don't know, but I need to ask them, right? Like y'all got to help me out. If there's something you want to know, drop it in the comments if you're watching live because I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the questions to ask. Coach Connie, what is a question if you were a young lesbian thinking about traveling the world? What is the question I didn't ask that you think we should talk about here, or something we haven't talked about that you think we should talk about here?
I mean, you asked about safety. You asked about dating. What would I want to know? I'm naughty, so I'd want to know about dating. Um, I don't know. I think you've asked it,
Okay.
right? Yeah. I think the big thing that queer travelers, like lesbian travelers, are concerned about, and rightfully so, is safety. Knowing that you are in spaces where you're not going to be harmed.
Okay.
And for me, it hasn't been about not experiencing racism or homophobia. It hasn't, because I think that racism has nothing to do with me. If someone is a racist, that's a them issue. If someone is a homophobe, that's a them issue. It affects me when it's like, oh, I'm racist, so I'm going to harm you. Then that's a problem. But I tend not to. And I'm not gonna lie, like it doesn't affect me. I don't feel a thing because it does. You know, when my ex is white, she's a white girl, and I remember being in Bali, and she would get served first. You know, and you could tell, like, and Bali was so confusing to me because, especially traveling with her, and I've kind of like I think where I was lucky was traveling with a Black partner and then traveling with a white partner, and sort of seeing how differently our experiences were in those contexts. Where when I was with my Black partner, if we were experiencing racism, we were experiencing it together, you know. Whereas with my white partner, it was, oh, I'm experiencing racism. These things are happening to me. If we're at the store in Australia, I'm the one that gets searched, right? If we're sitting at a restaurant in Bali, I'm the one whose food doesn't come out for a while, you know? And so that stuff does bother me. But not to a point where I'm like, I'm never going to travel or I'm never going to go back to Bali, because I'm from South Africa. I sat at a coffee shop in Camps Bay and there was a group of white people looking at me like I didn't belong, right? And so what am I going to do? Not see the world because people are assholes? I refuse to.
Okay. When you were traveling with your white partner, could she see the racism?
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. It's helpful. It's helpful because it's not like, oh, she's not gonna be like you're making it up, right? Or like, oh, you're being too
No,
sensitive.
and it was no, it's obvious. And what I had to talk her down on, though, I was like, I've been traveling for so long and these things happen, but you can't make me responsible for holding your rage about things that are happening to me. Like, she would just get so mad, and I'm like, I'm mad too, but now you've removed me from the equation and you've centered your rage. This thing happened to me. I'm the one who got searched. I'm the one who got stopped.
Okay.
So.
All right. A couple questions came in. I feel like this one is either in code or I'm missing something. Are you traveling with that backpack? Is that code? What am I missing? Come on.
Girl, yes.
Okay,
Yes, I am definitely traveling with that backpack. And I'll tell you this: I once got stopped.
Oh, I think I get it. Okay, go.
I was in New Orleans, and I was with that backpack, and I put it through, and they were like, "Whoa!"
Okay, so it is equipment.
It's equipment.
Equipment. Okay.
It's the stuff.
All right.
I absolutely travel with my stuff.
I didn't know that was like the term for it, but once you said it, I was like, oh, I get it now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So around the world, have you had travel issues traveling with equipment?
No, it was just that one time in New Orleans where I got stopped and they searched it, and they were like, oh, whoa. I was like, oh, it's in my bag. So.
Do they like touch it?
No, they're like, when they scan it and they're like, there's something in here, and then I was like, oh, I have toys in there, and they're like, what are you talking about? So they opened, they didn't touch it. They were like, oh, you have toys in here. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jay, for getting us all on the same page. All right. Kyoka, the awkward Black nomad, wants to know, do you think there's a place you'll settle down? Do you travel with the intent of finding a forever home or just live in the moment?
I think right now I'm at that age where I'm traveling for both. So I think I said earlier, one of the reasons that I couldn't be a primary partner is that I like being grounded. I like having my feet on the ground. And so my goal is to kind of find a forever home. But within the context of that forever home, I still want to be everywhere, just having a solid place to return to. That's what that would be for me.
Okay. All right. Igami wants to know, would you raise kids with a monogamous partner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think kids are easy. I think when you can, my best friend has a kid, they monogamous, her and her husband. But she's reading to her 5-year-old stories about polyamory and like people who have big families and what those families look like. I think kids are easy when you can give them information and make it make sense to them.
Okay. And would you raise kids in a poly relationship? You would?
I don't know why I tripped up on that one. I think
You just said.
I think it's also conditioning. Sometimes I struggle to imagine it, you know, and I feel like it could be the same. Why not? There are poly people raising kids out there. It's just for me, it's a context that I haven't experienced, and I struggle to imagine what it would look like. I feel like with a monogamous partner, there's that thing that's like we are partners, and our kids will probably not even meet the other people that we engage with.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with poly, chances are our kids would meet those people. Um, yeah.
Okay. But it's interesting because you talked about like you don't have that context, like that's not how you're raised, but you know how you were raised and you don't want to raise kids that way, right?
No, I also don't want to raise kids the way that I was raised.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. So you don't want to raise kids the
Yeah.
way you were raised.
No.
So like you got to do something new. You're gonna end up doing
I
something
gotta figure out
you
all
don't
of the
know.
different. If I
Yeah.
have them, I'm not committed to having kids, but if I have them,
Mhm.
I would love to explore different ways of raising kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Marissa has a great question. What was your TED talk about?
My TED talk was about the real cost of people pleasing.
Okay. So let's get into your coaching for a second. So you're a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
And people pleasing is a topic that you've spent some energy and time around,
Mm-hmm.
right? You used to be a people pleaser.
Still am at times.
Okay, I was going to ask if you've recovered from that. All right. How did people pleasing present in your life?
Oh my God, in all the ways. It presented in romantic relationships a lot. Like I found myself saying yes to things that I wanted to say no to. And also not communicating how I really felt out of fear of losing a relationship. And sometimes friendships too. It's like that thing of tiptoeing around people's feelings. My TED talk it's literally about that, where understanding that people pleasing is also a trauma response, right? Like I wasn't born a people pleaser. Life happened and situations happened where people pleasing served as a protection mechanism. Like I had to people please to feel safe. And some of us, we people please to feel loved, right? Creates that sense of perfectionism because that's the only way you feel seen. So it shows up a lot in romantic relationships. And I think what I said to you earlier about being poly is trying to learn how to communicate as well. Like it's forcing me to communicate and say, hey, that doesn't feel good. Like I remember when I was in Germany, I said to a partner, I was like, I'm feeling emotionally disconnected from you. People pleasers don't do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
We don't say, hey, this feels like this, or I need this. So yeah, it's something that I still even with my clients, I call myself a recovering people pleaser because I still have days where I catch myself people pleasing a lot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is something I want you to coach all million of us watching this at the same time. So,
Okay.
really generic and really simply, what is something that we can do if we are people pleasers or if we don't know if we're people pleasers to maybe get a little distance between us and people pleasing? A little tiny distance, smidge.
Lead with your truth
Okay.
in every relationship. It's a new thing that I'm trying where, you know, let's take dating for example. We all want to put our best foot forward, right? We all want
Mhm.
to show the good shit. I'm experimenting with showing all the shit. Like to a point where when I was starting to talk to G and she's like listing all the good things and I'd be like, well, I see all that good things and there's also this side of me because I don't want you to ignore that side of me too, right? Because it all exists. And so
Mhm.
when we lead with our truth, especially people pleasers, when you can say to someone, I struggle with people pleasing, or I struggle to ask for what I need. And if you're lucky enough to be in community with people who will hear you and help you, then you might just be okay. But I think leading with your truth and like forcing yourself to have conversations. One of the big things that people pleasers are scared of is conflict or confrontation. And it's like if you can change your perspective on conflict and say, when I'm in conflict in a relationship, I'm also presenting a chance to come closer. Because when I'm in conflict with my partner and we resolve together, that brings us closer together, right? So instead of fearing conflict, it can serve as a way of connection.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a people pleaser and as part of your, I would be worried that if I was a people pleaser
Mm-hmm.
and I told people that, hey, I'm a people pleaser, I'm trying to work on it, there's a subset of people who would hear that and try to take advantage of it. Is that a thing, or am I paranoid?
But you can tell, right? I mean, I think that's a thing, but I think like people pleasing is such it's an internal experience. Like I can tell my partner or I can tell my friends, hey, I struggle with people pleasing, but they don't know those moments where I am people pleasing. It's an internal battle.
Okay.
It's something that I deal with in the quiet. And so I don't know if people take advantage, but here's the thing though, people pleasers do feel taken advantage of because we don't tell the truth. As I was saying to someone, I was doing a live yesterday and I was like, before I lie to anyone else as a people pleaser, I lie to myself. By the time I say to you something feels good, I've already convinced myself, knowing that it doesn't, but I have to lie to myself and say that it does. So there's no one that I've lied to more than I've lied to myself.
Wow. Like that was. And now we're ending. No, I'm kidding. Okay. If there are any people pleasers who hear themselves in what you're saying right now, who do you work with? Who are your clients? If they want to work with you, how do they do that? Let us know.
Mm-hmm. I work with everybody: gay, straight, black, white, queer, men, women. I just started working with my first male client, and it's like, oh, it's making me so happy to see men in that space of vulnerability. And I mentioned that because for a while in my work, I thought I couldn't work with straight men until someone was like, you're probably the most perfect person that they would want to work with because they don't feel judged by you. They don't need to impress you. You know, you don't want to sleep with, like, really, they can just come as they are.
Yeah.
But I do work with women. My clients have been around like 25. My oldest client is 65. And it's people pleasing. It's also like this feeling of being stuck, you know, like not knowing who you are. A lot of my clients are working through that, like, who the fuck am I? People who are transitioning from relationships, right? Like after a long-term relationship and it ends, who are you now and how do you start over? So yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm on Instagram.
Is that how your
Like,
clients, your someone wants to work with you? Is that how they should reach out to you too?
they can reach out
Instagram?
to me too, and then there's a link in my bio where you can book a consultation call.
Okay. And the link is in the description, but why don't you tell everyone what your Instagram page is anyway?
It's at Life Coach Kanye.
Okay. So at Life Coach Kanye, it's linked in the description. Before we get out of here, okay, before we started, Kanye was really like, is it really going to be 2 hours? And I was like, yes, girl.
I know, and I'm like, and then
we
I just
talk.
put a thing on my phone. It said 20%. I was like, damn, it has been
Yeah,
2 hours.
it's almost 2 hours. We talk. Sometimes it goes over 2 hours, but usually I'm like, I'm hungry now. It's time to stop talking.
Yeah, me
But
too.
I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
I know. I saw you with those chips in the beginning. Okay, so people pleasing is something you're focused on. Traveling while Black and lesbian is something that you've spent a lot of your time like thinking about and writing about. What's next?
What's next? I want to grow. What's next is growing the coaching business. I think,
Mm-hmm.
not I think, I know, like, what's been a compliment recently is a lot of people asking for mentorship. So I'm building a mentorship program. I know. It's just like, man, I want to do what you do. I was like, okay, I'll mentor you. So I'm building that. And honestly, it is to keep traveling. I feel like, yes, I've been to a lot of places, but there's so many other places that I haven't been to that I'm dying to go.
Where are you dying to go? Tell us.
India.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you
All
been?
right. I have twice.
You, you didn't love it?
I didn't love it. The last time I was there, I haven't been there. Maybe 2015 was the last time I was there, maybe.
Okay.
And it was like, I've never seen such poverty and such wealth side by side anywhere before. And the dirty
South
parts were
Africa is
really,
like
really
that
dirty.
though. South Africa
What
is
was
like
that?
that. Cape Town's like that.
No,
15 minutes
no,
out, you're like,
no.
you're in the,
No, because
no?
it's not 15 minutes out. It's like someone points and like, oh, that tower, the penthouse, there's a elevator, it brings a car, like the Rolls Royces up to the apartment, whatever. And like on the sidewalk outside is someone who is like sweeping their square of the sidewalk. So it's not like 15 minutes out. It's literally like it's literally
It's
when
like
I'm
right
saying
here.
right beside each other, it's right here. We were in this really nice hotel, this Marriott, and it had like marble everywhere, floors, bath everywhere, marble, marble, marble. Outside there, the minute you leave the gate, there are people living on like the identifiable square of a sidewalk. I saw a kid, their mom was sweeping and their kid was sitting there doing their homework on the street. And it wasn't like they're begging,
Man,
like
have
that's
you
just where
been to
they live.
Manila? Have you been to
I
Manila?
have not been to Manila. I have not
It's
been to
the
Manila.
same.
Yeah,
That's
I've heard things
so
about that.
sad.
And so it's like I said, like where it's dirty, it's filthy because there's so many people and not enough like
Space.
clean water, etc.
Well, I'm still gonna
But there were
go.
no. I think listen, go to Agra. The Taj Mahal. I have never seen anything like it in my life, and I don't think I ever would. Like the Taj Mahal is the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. But when I tell you, them Indian people who are the same color as you and I would like walk up on you and like stare in your face. Girl, I look just like your cousin Sally. What are you doing? Like, what are we doing here?
See, that's how I felt in Bali. I'm like, why? Will I?
What are you don't have also, so it's one of those culture in my experience. It's one of those cultures where like lines are kind of like an idea, like queuing up for something is more of a concept,
It's a suggestion.
right? Which is fine when like the grandma just walks in front of me like I'm not standing there. But I can't walk in front of the grandma, so I'm standing here forever. Like, who do I have? Who can I push out of the I've been pushed out of the way multiple times. Who can I push out of the way without catching a bow real quick? Like, what's the deal? So there were culturally, and as women, there were a couple moments where I was like, oh, this was very unsafe.
Yeah.
So, you know, like most, it's not the safest place for women, but surprise, like we're used to that around the world. Lots of wealth, lots of poverty next to each other. You're used to that. I've been, right? I've been and there wasn't enough, been twice, wasn't enough to draw me back for a third time.
And I feel like twice should be enough for most places.
Yeah, I've been twice. There are listen, if I get to a point where my travel is me like flying in, getting picked up by a driver, going to the fanciest hotel and being driven around to wherever I want to go and not being amongst the people, I could see myself going back. And that's not to say I don't like being amongst the people. That's for me to say, that's me saying last time I went there, a man followed us, I think trying to see what hotel we were staying at, what are we doing about information besides trying to kidnap? Like, right. Like, what are you doing? He literally, we had to run away. We had to wait until he had his back turned to us for like a split second and take off running to get away from that man. He followed us so long. We were like, what? Like, we see that you're following us. Why are you following us? And he's like, it's my country. I can do whatever I want.
That's scary. I don't love that.
I didn't love that. I didn't love it. He was like, yes, I'm following you. What you gonna do? Like, where does this end?
And what
right?
are you gonna do?
what are you going to do with like, what is your plan for us? We had to run and hide to get away from that man in a market. It was my first day on my second trip, my first day there. And we had to run and hide from a man in a market because he was following us.
I know. Okay.
I went to buy something small, like a knick-knack. Like, you buy a sim phone, this is understandable. But like, I went to buy some kind of like something. And the guy was like, we need your passport. It's not, first of all, it's not a antique something that can't be taken out of it. You know what I mean? Rare thingy, whatever. So why do you need my passport? I'll probably pay with a card. I pay with cards wherever I go because, if something happens, whatever. And then he said, oh, we have to take it out and make a copy over there somewhere. You gonna walk away with my passport while I'm hearing your Absolutely not. I was like,
the fuck not.
Absolutely not. Like, what?
No. I sent my passport to get the Schengen visa. I was away from my passport for 5 days and I was not okay. I was like, I don't like being this far from my passport. No, what?
I cannot pick you out of a lineup in a city with all these humans. I'm in here. You want to walk out there with my passport because you need it for me to buy this?
No.
So it was moments like that where I was like, what? And they didn't need it because, like I said, I was like, no. And then whatever they had to do, they did it in the store.
Yeah, they were gonna take.
Would I ever see my passport again? Would I have been waiting for hours for my passport to come back and it never came back if I did that?
They were gonna take your passport.
I was like, what?
No.
What's happening here? And I know that because I know what I bought there. I bought more expensive things in other places and they didn't need my passport for it. So what's really happening here? I think they're trying to steal my passport. Why? I don't know what you're gonna do. But like that kind of situation where I was like, I don't love this experience. I don't need to do it again. Yeah. But beautiful things you'll never see anywhere else in the world. Like I said, if I could go in and see the things, and not that this is not me saying that like Indian people weren't nice. It's me saying that I had enough bad experiences to not need to repeat it again. And that's why I'm like, if I could get driven where I wanted to go and not be amongst people who treated me like I was a zoo animal.
Yeah.
Or like whatever that man was doing when he was following me. Whatever it was like. I would go back to India under those circumstances. I would also, if I hadn't been knowing what I know now, I would still go back to see the Taj Mahal. I would just be very, very mindful of how I traveled. I hate when people say the way to go to this country is to go with a man. But after my experience in Morocco, I definitely feel like there are some places where it's like, I guess.
Go with a man. I
guess. Bring your penis with you when you go to India or whatever. Like, yeah, it was challenging. But other than that, no. And that's not to talk you out of it. I would definitely say go. But
yeah,
I'm good.
I'll still go.
Yeah, I'm good for now. Okay, have we covered it all?
I think so.
Thank you so much for being here. This was
Thank
awesome.
you for having me. This was fun.
I'm really glad we did this.
Yeah,
Hi, new friends. I'll be in your DMs. You guys know to be in her DMs about business, to be in her DMs about play. Do not be in her DMs about bullshit. Do not be in her DMs about any bullshit.
No.
Business.
Don't wait.
Business, pleasure. Business, pleasure.
Business and pleasure. Perfect.
Those are the things.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for joining me and being here with us, chat. It was really great to talk to you. I'm going to end the stream now. Hang out for 1 second. I'm going to end the stream. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. Pop, pop, pop.